But anyway, so these questions came straight from the community, meaning the community of people who register for the masterclass. They submit questions. You, my community, can submit questions when you register, and I will answer them live. And so um, I'm going to be diving into these questions so that I can touch on some pillars of sustainability, profitability, and someone asked about starting a nonprofit. Someone also asked about generating leads, and also asked about growing an authentic audience so that you can get monetized. So, um, if you've ever wondered, okay, if you've ever wondered where to start, or how to grow without burnout, or how to monetize ethically and authentically, then this is your episode. Okay. Now, I'm going to go ahead and get started here because I want to go ahead and jump into the questions. But I also want to start with a caveat here because the first question was how to start a nonprofit organization without getting overwhelmed. Now, the caveat here is that I do not have a nonprofit organization. Okay. So the answers and the response, to your question is going to be based on business, which the difference to me is that you're not making a profit, right? A nonprofit organization, that's the difference because, and again, I do not have a nonprofit organization, but I do know people that do. And so, but the launching process still, in my humble opinion, starts with systems, and messaging and clarity. Okay, so I'm going to give you my um framework, if you will, of how you can launch, whether it's a nonprofit or a business. Okay. And if you're in business, so let me say this as well. So if you're in business, then and you want to tie your podcast to your business or even your nonprofit, this will work the same way. Okay, so hopefully all of that made sense. So I have a framework that is called the A.P.A.C.T framework. And this framework I apply to a lot of areas of my life and business and podcasting as well. And so the acronym A.P.A.C.T is usually the same, but the meaning may be a little bit different depending on what it's applied to, but it's still the same framework. All right. So let's get started here with that framework. So, in order to launch your nonprofit or even your business for profit without getting overwhelmed, okay, is going to start with this framework, A.P.A.C.T. And so the A stands for clarifying the mission. I mean, excuse me. It can't stand for clarifying the mission. The A stands for assess and clarifying the mission. And you want to think in terms of, or ask yourself the questions: who does this nonprofit serve? What problem are you solving, and why now? Okay. So this is the assessment part. You're going to do an assessment. You start a business this way, you start your podcast this way, you start your nonprofit this way, right? Because what you want to do is lay the foundation. Okay. And I'm looking at here, just looking to see if I have any questions on any of the socials. So the A stands for assess. And this becomes your North Star, and it determines your structure, your funding, and your messaging. And again, I'm not going to go into details about that because I don't have a nonprofit organization, but I do have a business. All right. And so you want to assess. So that's what the A in A.P.A.C.T stands for: assess, clarify your mission. The P stands for prioritize. Okay, prioritize. You want to determine your legal structure. Okay, so you want to prioritize simply by thinking about the name, and of course, if you have a board, if you want to appoint a board, there's also requirement for articles of incorporation, draft your bylaws, apply for your tax exempt status. Usually it's a 501c3. And again, these things I know because I do know some people who have nonprofit organizations. So, you know, again, with that disclaimer, this is based on a question that was submitted to me about nonprofit. I am not an expert in launching a nonprofit, okay? But there is a framework, okay? So you determine your legal structure and you want to prioritize that. So that's what the P stands for, right? Prioritize. Start with the easiest wins by selecting your name and clarifying your mission so that the momentum builds instead of fear. Okay. Anytime you looking to launch something, start something, or what have you, if you give it too much time, then fear may start to set in, right? It's like I can't remember her name at the right now. Her name escapes me, but she talks about the 5 second rule. And if you look up the 5 second rule, you'll be able to find her very, very popular podcaster and author. But anyway, give yourself about 5 seconds, before there's about 5 seconds before you start to question whether or not, is this something that I want to do? Will this work? You start to question specifically whether God has called you to do this. Okay. I think that this is more important than anything else, whether it's podcasting, business, or nonprofit. Is it a calling? Okay, this is a part of your assessment as well as prioritizing, the structure of it. And so you want to choose a name because when it's a part of your calling, then you want to look at, you know, the type of alignment, whether it is in alignment with your calling and things like that. These are a lot of things. These are things that you want to consider. All right. So, you select the name by clarifying the mission. And so that's when momentum builds and instead of fear. Okay. Moving on to the A in A.P.A.C.T. So I talked about the A. The first A was assess. The P is prioritize. The next A is align. So you want to make sure that your nonprofit aligns with your mission, with the programs that you want to offer. And so, a few questions that you want to ask yourself is like, what outcome do you want to create for your community? Okay. What program most directly delivers that? Right? This is particularly important in business building and as well as nonprofit because you are going to want to deliver, some type of program. You want to, perhaps there's a community around it, or you want to. What do you want to do in order to create? What outcome do you want to create for your community? These are really important in determining the alignment. So you just want to keep it simple. Start with one program or one offering. Okay. And so, particularly if this relates to your podcast. Okay. So, all right. So, align. Make sure that it is an alignment. Align the nonprofit's mission with what you want to offer your community. Very simple. Very simple. All right, number four, which is the C, is for create. Okay, so create your operations plans. Okay, and marketing ecosystem, just like a business, just like a podcast, right? Now you're not going to start here, but this is something that you definitely want to consider. You want to consider a simple website, a donation or fundraising page, right? And so you want to do that as well. And so a volunteer or onboarding process, you want to consider those type of things. Maybe you have a newsletter that you want to create, or but you're going to need some type of communication plan. Okay. Um, Now, a podcast cast is actually optional too, but it is something that will help you to amplify your mission and tell your impact stories. And if you're looking to launch your podcast, make sure that you check out the link that will be in the show notes, in the description, and wherever you're watching this podcast, if you want to get on a discovery call with me. All right. So the C is for create. The T is for tracked. Track. I always say that tracked. Track. TRACK. You want to track compliance and annual filings, donor communication, and program outcomes. Um, and if you treat it like a business from day one, you'll be able to grow faster, foster community, stay organized, and avoid the paperwork panic that many nonprofits struggle with. And so, but you definitely want to track all of those things, right? And so, that is the framework of A.P.A.C.T. Okay. A.P.A.C.T is, I'm going to just go over those one more time. Um, okay. Okay. I think I have something going in the background here. Yep, I do. All right. So there we go. Fix that. All right. A.P.A.C.T stands for assess. The P stands for prioritize. The A stands for align. The C stands for create. And the T stands for track. Okay. All right. So this hopefully will answer the question for the person that asked me about starting a nonprofit. So hopefully you are. I will check the comments to see if you are joining me live on any of the platforms, or if you're joining me live in the studio. I like to kind of get through the content first, and if you have other questions, I will go back and check those. All right. All right. The next question was, how do I generate leads? Now, this is not pertaining necessarily to the nonprofit, but it's definitely this person asked the question, how do I generate leads to my podcast? Okay. Now, here's the thing, it does not have to be complicated. Okay. But it does have to be strategic. All right. So I'm going to share with you just a quick framework for launching your podcast that to help you generate leads. All right. So launch. So this framework is called my LHG framework. Okay. I love frameworks. I love sharing frameworks. It kind of makes things simple, right? So the first framework was A.P.A.C.T. So this one is LHG. So LHG stands for launch, host, and grow. All right. So here's the thing I want you to remember. Your podcast is a lead magnet. It is not the business. It is not the program, unless that's what you're teaching. Okay. But your podcast is a lead magnet. So therefore, every episode should answer a core problem your audience has. Okay. And you should know that, particularly if you are tying this to your business. Okay. Answer a core problem that your audience has. For example, in my situation, one of the core problems that my audience has or have, am I saying that right? Is generating leads. Okay. They want to know how to generate leads for their business, and podcasting is one of those. So With that said, you want to make sure that you're answering the core problem that your audience has. Number two, you want to make sure that you point to a free resource. So your free resource may be a checklist or a mini guide or a cheat sheet or a 5-minute assessment. Whatever that is, it is designed to generate leads. Your podcast is a lead magnet. And not only that, it warms up the listeners for the next step, whatever your next step is. All right. But this is your lead generation loop. All right. So launch. Okay. Now, next, the H stands for host. You want to host events. Okay, that's one of the things that I do is I host events. I host virtual events. Maybe at some point I'll do a live event. Not just yet, maybe in the coming year. But you want to definitely host virtual events. I feel like virtual events work better because you can reach a wider audience. All right. But some of the events may be like a monthly Q&A session, a master class, workshops, live podcast recordings, like what I'm doing right now. This is a live podcast recording, meaning you're live, you're joining me live, and um, I'm recording it. And so it will be repurposed into an episode. So, and networking events. I have a monthly networking event called the Female Business and Podcast Society. And so, it every second Tuesday of the month. So you're welcome to join that as well. So hosting events. And when you host events, it helps to build trust faster. Okay. Because the person can interact with you. They can, you know, uh, talk to you if especially if it like if it's in person, you're interacting with them, so it actually builds trust faster than just a recording. You have real conversations, right? It also helps you to build authority. Okay, so it's an authority positioning mechanism. And it's a reason for people to join your email list, especially if they like you. This is how you build your know, like, and trust factor. So, hosting is where your audience becomes your community. All right. Now, so that's the hosting part, LHG. So, G is grow. You grow your email list because your email list is your business engine. This is where your leads can turn into clients. This is where my leads have turned into clients. This is where people, when you're nurturing that relationship, then it helps them to it helps to build trust as well. And so you can use behind the scene insights. You can share value driven newsletter. It can be a value driven newsletter, and you can share your stories. You can share behind the scene insights. You can share client stories, resources, call to action for your offers, all type of things. But here's the thing: a lot of people think that they need um, like 10,000 subscribers. You don't need 10,000 subscribers. You need the right people receiving consistent value. Now, that may lead to 10,000 subscribers, but a lot of people start out thinking, okay, I don't have enough subscribers. No, you need the right people that's subscribing, that want to hear what you have to say. And they're interested, they're leaned in, they are, you know, just about ready to click that button to buy, right? So it has to be the right people because they're receiving consistent value. All right. So that should answer hopefully the question, the person that answered that asked the question, how do I generate leads? Okay, that is my answer for helping you to generate leads through the launch, host, and grow method. All right. So Then I had another question where the person asked, what are the best tactics for authentic audience growth and engagement while monetizing? Here's my answer to that. Now, and I'm saying this because these are all based on my experience. Everybody has a different, who do these kind of things or answer these kind of questions, or maybe they, whether it's a podcast, a business, what have you. Everybody may have a different adage. A different strategy. Adage. I forgot the S and the T. Right, a different strategy. And so when you think about it, all strategies work. You just have to give it time. You got to give it time to work. I've tried so many strategies from other people and wondered why, you know, there were times where it's like, well, this isn't working. And part of it was because number one, I didn't give it time. And number two, it was a strategy that worked for that person and not me. Okay. So all strategies work. However, you got to figure out what strategy is best for you. Okay. So I had to say that as a caveat to answer the question, what are the best tactics? Okay. So your audience can feel when you're only showing up to sell. So you want to make sure that authenticity over algorithm. So authenticity is the new algorithm. Okay? It's the new algorithm. So the best strategies that I have found that worked for me is number one, you want to tell stories. Okay? People connect to your stories. They want connection. They don't want perfection. Okay? So either your stories, your lessons, the things that you have learned over time, and your experience. So your stories helps to build their trust in you. Your lessons help to build their transformation, and your voice helps to build their loyalty. If that makes sense. So you want to tell your stories, and for those three reasons, right? They want connection, right? And again, not perfection. And so share stories. I share the story all the time. When I launched my first podcast, I launched in 2013. I've launched 3 podcasts. The first one has 14 episodes. I just looked at it so I could confirm in my head. It's out there on YouTube, Organize Your Enterprise. But guess what? I had no idea what I was doing. I knew that I liked podcasting. It was new, it was a new way to get your voice out there. I was not using it to connect my business necessarily. And I did not have a strategy. So that's one of the things that I help my clients to do is to develop a strategy. Okay. And so, but I tell the story all the time about how I launched a podcast, right? And I had an organizing business. So if you never, heard of me before, my podcast is the OrganizedPreneur Podcast. Okay. That is because I love organizing. And so what I teach people to do is to get organized. That's like the first leg in the whole ecosystem. Get organized, get heard, and get leads, right? So that is my ecosystem. And so that is how I teach people to uh, to have a strategy that helps them to build their business. Okay, so all right. And if that's something you're interested in, then there will be a link in the show notes or the description shortly. All right. So tell stories. Number two, be consistent, not just constant. Consistency is what builds trust. Okay. Um, Burnout breaks trust. When I tell you the reason that my podcast has 14 episodes, my first one, I told you I've launched 3. The second one has 400 episodes. My business partner and I did a podcast called Wisdom Inspired. And so, and it has 400 because we were actually very consistent. Like we were 5 days a week, right? That's why we have so many episodes out there. And so, Wisdom Inspired is was one of those efforts. Uh, and so what we did was we had a live call where people would come and join us live uh, on freeconferencecall.com. Join us. They would join us live, and so that content was repurposed into a podcast so that people can go back and listen to the content. Right. So that was the second one. So we had a strategy. I think that one was like 3 years, I think. And so then we went on to do our own separate things. And so now that's how the Organizedpreneur podcast was launched. And so that's what I'm doing now. And so I have my 180th episode coming up. And so this might be the 181st episode, but it's weekly, right? And so it's a solo episode and it's weekly. So consistency builds trust, is my point. So you have to choose a simple rhythm. Like I said, we did my first one, we did daily episode. Excuse me, my first one. Well, the first one was only a few episodes, like 14. But the one with my business partner was weekly. Was 5 days a week. This podcast is four a month, right? Or once a week. And so, but my point is that you have to decide on your own rhythm because the thing is, if you cannot determine or if you cannot commit rather to a daily podcast, then please don't start out and then burn out, right? Because that's what will happen. Uh, but that's it. You've got to figure out a simple rhythm for yourself because I will tell you this, and a lot of people are finding this out when it comes to podcasting and online businesses and things like that. There are a lot of moving parts. Okay. Especially if you want to connect, all of the pieces and create that ecosystem. Podcast has a lot of moving parts. Virtual events have a lot of moving parts. You got to market it. You got to create, the workflow. You got to make sure that uh, um, your content is in alignment. There's just a lot of moving parts, right? But yeah, so be consistent and make sure that you can commit to a rhythm that works for you. All right. Number three, engage like a human. Engage like a human. Ask questions, respond to comments. So I'm going to ask you, if you're watching this live, am I making sense? Does any of this register with you? Right? Participate. If you're watching this live, if you're in the studio, or if you are um, watching this on one of the socials, okay? You can use community polls, right? Um, when you launch your podcast, there's a button inside of the back office that allows you to create a poll, okay? Because you want to get feedback. So engage like a human, all right? The next one is number four, excuse me. Monetize by solving, not selling. This one is very, very powerful. I think it was Frank Kern who's like the father of internet marketing. I've been following him for years. I would say 15, 20 years. And so one of the things that he says is the way you help people is to help them. It's really simple. That's the easiest way to monetize. You offer solutions to the problems that your audience raises, but you help them. Okay. So some examples: if your audience struggles with systems, then offer a workflow audit. Okay. If your audience struggles with launching, you offer something like a launch accelerator. I've done that. I'm still doing it. If your audience struggles with consistency, sell a done with you plan. I've done that one. If you want to implement a method, then offer your LHG coaching. Launch, host, and grow. But my point is, your audience will always pay for solutions that help to remove stress, confusion, or time wasting. Okay. And so, because again, all of these things have moving, a lot of moving parts. Okay. So, monetize by solving the problems and not selling. So, that's number four. Number five, create a soft sell ecosystem. So, your ecosystem should whisper what is the next step. It should be a whisper, not a shout out. Buy now, buy now. Okay. And so you may be asking, what does that look like? So a soft sell may look like download the freebie, right? Join my next class. Let's map out your strategy together. This episode is linked, the episode's guide is linked below. These are ways to soft sell your ecosystem and whisper, not shout. Okay. So that is how you create an ecosystem to monetize. Okay. Make sure that it fuels everything natural. It should feel natural and it should fuel things naturally and organically. Should not be forced. All right. So those five strategies, best strategies, in my humble opinion: tell stories, be consistent, engage like a human, monetize by solving and not selling, and then create a soft sell ecosystem. Now, so as I wrap up today's Q&A episode, I hope that you feel more empowered and less overwhelmed. Um, and I am definitely looking to see if there are any questions. But as I wrap up this, whether you're launching a nonprofit or generating leads or growing an authentic audience that supports your business, remember this. Remember this. Simplicity scales, consistency converts, and authenticity attracts. Simplicity scales, consistency converts, and authenticity attracts. So when you organize your business, your podcast around the right systems, everything becomes easier, lighter, and more profitable. Okay. So if you've enjoyed this, I am going to look at the comments shortly to see if you have any questions. But if you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend, leave a review, tag me on Facebook. This is also going to be go live on YouTube. I'm live on YouTube right now. So those are the socials that I go live on, and I will do these live Q&As where I answer your questions when you submit on the episode live. Okay, couldn't quite get all that together. All right, so so uh so share with a friend, leave a review, tag me on one of the socials, primarily YouTube and Facebook, so that I can cheer you on. Now, if you're ready to start generating leads using your voice through podcasting, then the host, launch, and grow method is for you. And you can start by booking a call with me so that I can help you to fill in the gap between where you are now and where you're trying to go. Because maybe you've already launched a podcast, but you're trying to connect it to your business. Okay. Maybe you have a business and you're trying to connect it to your podcast. Or maybe you host events and you're trying to figure out, okay, how do I connect this to my business? Whatever it is, I would love to help you on that strategy call. It is absolutely complimentary. You will leave with a strategy. And I would love to help you. So, with that said, let me go in and check to see if there are any questions. And I am going to definitely put the link. Give me a second. I'm going to put the link where you can book a call with me. All right. And I will put that in the chat. Uh, it is a 30-minute complimentary call. And again, I will put the link in the chat on the socials as well. So if there are no questions, which I don't see any, maybe I did a good job. I don't know. I hope so. Maybe I did a great job and everything, it made sense and all of that, right? So continue to join me if you're looking to launch your podcast. Um, and I am here to help you. So, all right, until next time, stay organized. Please stay organized, get heard, and get leads. All right, have an amazing day. Love you all. Chat soon.